Hey everyone, welcome back to Inner Coast Studio. Today we're going to be doing another wet on wet watercolor tutorial focusing on soft skies and quiet waters. I'm going to show you what I'll be using, but feel free to get creative with this practice. Today I'm going to use some phthalo blue, some crimson, and some Payne's gray. And I'm going to start, this is 300-pound watercolor paper. I'm going to start by really generously giving this a clean wash. And on this, I actually did it 2 times because it's a thicker and heavier weight paper. If you're using 140 pound, that's fine, but you want to go for this kind of sheen that you see on the paper when I hold it up to the light to make sure that it's wet enough so that when we put down the initial wash of color, that the colors blend together really nicely. So I'm going to go in now with some phthalo blue. Pay no attention to the palette on the right. I have a lot of colors on there. That's just kind of the way I work, but primarily I am using the phthalo blue here. When I do this today, I'm trying to create kind of a dreamy sky, and I want some reflective water on the bottom. I'm not doing a harsh line for the horizon right now, which is why I don't have any tape down. Because we're doing a low energy watercolor tutorial today, I'm really just going to do a mirror image of whatever color I'm doing at the top. I'm going to also do at the bottom, and then I'm going to add some crimson to the middle where the horizon line would be to keep this as easy and as beginner friendly as possible. Now, as I paint this piece, I am using the Princeton Neptune series brushes, which hold water really well. That's what I want, especially right now because the paper's still wet. I want to be putting down my pigment with a wet brush so that everything blends together nicely. The brush I'm using for most of this piece is a 2-inch Princeton Neptune brush. It's really good for washes, and it's really good for laying down the initial pigment that you're looking to add. While the paper is still really saturated, I'm just going to keep going in and mapping out where I want to retain the light on the paper, and I'm really going for some light in the central area, so you're going to see me leaving that pretty open. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom because I want that reflective light at the bottom as well. It's always important to keep in mind that in watercolor, any pigment you put down is going to lighten up a lot as it dries. So don't be afraid to be generous with the amount of pigment you put down. This is what I'm doing. What's really most important right now is that you keep your paper pretty wet while you're putting the pigment down. Okay, you'll see here I'm going to start putting down a heavier wash of crimson at that horizon line marker. My paper's still very wet, so this is going to dry much lighter even if it looks pretty dark right now, and because the paper's so wet, the crimson is kind of going to mix with the phthalo blue, which I like. I want some interesting shapes and I want some interesting textures as I paint. Feel free to keep pushing some darker values here. I'm gonna kind of keep it in this range for now because I want kind of that after sunset type look in the sky, and I'm gonna add darker clouds to this. One of the reasons I love wet on wet techniques so much is because you can create some really cool colors, textures, shapes without having to put a ton of effort in. And you can use gravity like I'm doing now to move the paper around while it's still wet and let those textures form on their own. Now I'm going to start mixing the color for my clouds, which is mainly going to be Payne's gray and a touch of phthalo blue. And my paper at this point is still pretty damp, which is what I want. I'm putting it down with another Neptune series brush, which means that my brush is still pretty wet. But not wet enough to create any bleeds at this point. So keep your eye on the kind of water to pigment ratios you're working with, because at this point, while your paper is drying, that can happen. So I'm going to put my pigment down right now. It does look dark, but it will lighten, and I'll show you as we get there. I'm trying to kind of create wispy looking clouds. I don't want anything too heavy in the sky. So I'm going to create a few of these, but you can put as many as you would like, obviously. You can see here the color of the clouds has started to bleed out a little bit. I like that. I want a dreamy looking kind of sky. I don't want any harsh textures in this sky. Because the paper is still damp though, and I'm putting down some wet pigment, I can go back in with a clean damp brush, which is what I'm going to do now, and create some extra texture. So I can pull back some pigment if I want to add some highlights on a cloud. You can still do this as long as the paper is still damp enough to do so. I think I'm happy with the amount of clouds I have in the sky. I want to keep it fairly simple, and I want to highlight those colors behind the clouds as well. So I'm going to stop there, but you can feel free to add more clouds. You can add more texture to those clouds. You know, it's your painting, so feel free to do whatever you would like. I am going to add some additional texture to the bottom of the painting to make it look like some reflective water. For this part, I am using another Princeton Neptune brush. This is the 1/2 inch oval wash, and I just have a minimal amount of water and pigment on this brush. I don't want anything to bleed. I'm just creating some lines and some texture to almost look like very soft waves in the distance. So you can get creative with this again. It's as much or as little as you want, but I'm just going to create some textures here to make it look like some reflective water in front of you. I am painting this detail with some phthalo blue and a touch of Payne's gray, but I'm doing it in variations of paint to water ratios. So this part I'm painting right now, I have a little bit more water on my brush than pigment, so you can vary it a little bit to create some additional texture. And you really want to keep this pretty simple for the sake of this painting if you are going this far with it. So I'm going to do some lines on the left side, some lines on the right side, and keep it fairly simple. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for spending time in the studio with me today. I hope you found a little bit of calm and inspiration here. If you enjoyed watching this come together, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new painting session. Leave a comment below letting me know what you'd like to see next time. And until next time, keep creating, and I'll see you on the next wave.